Franklin Delano Roosevelt, called FDR, was born on January 30th, 1882 in Hyde Park, New York. He was the only child of extremely wealthy parents James and Sarah Delano Roosevelt. His father was a prominent Democrat with connections to the White House, foretelling his son's bright future. FDR was raised in prestige and privilege, sailing boats, horseback riding, and avoiding unpleasant subjects and overtures of emotions while striving to please others, as many aristocratic families did in the Gilded Age. FDR went to a boarding school in Massachusetts for his formative years of education. He would then go on to get his Bachelor of Arts in History at Harvard University in only 3 years. Then he attended Columbia University Law School, but left before getting his degree because he passed the bar exam. For the next 3 years, he practiced law with a prominent New York City law firm called Carter, Ledyard & Milburn. He entered politics in 1910 and was elected to the New York State Senate as a Democrat from his traditionally Republican home district. Meanwhile, in 1905, he married the niece of President Theodore Roosevelt, which was also his distant relative, but that's okay. Her name was Anne Eleanor Roosevelt. The couple had 6 children together, 5 of whom survived infancy: James, Elliot, Franklin Jr., and John. While vacationing in the summer of 1921, FDR contracted polio, paralyzing him from the waist down. Rather than giving up, he persevered through his diagnosis. He established a foundation at Warm Springs, Georgia, to help other polio victims and inspired the March of Dimes program, which is what eventually funded an effective vaccine. In due time, FDR resumed his political career. In 1928, FDR's nomination, Alfred E. Smith became the Democratic candidate for president and arranged for Roosevelt's nomination for governor of New York, which succeeded. Following his re-election as governor in 1930, Roosevelt began to campaign for his presidency. While Hoover and the Republicans' reputation was tainted due to economic depression, Roosevelt made bold efforts to enhance his image. In 1932, Roosevelt won the nomination as the Democratic Party candidate for president. For the next couple months, he campaigned for government intervention in the economy to provide relief, recovery, and reform. His use of activism, bandwagon, glittering generalities, personal charm, and so many other tactics helped him defeat President Hoover in November 1932 by 7 million votes. At the time of Roosevelt's inauguration on March 4, 1933, the nation had been spiraling downward into the worst economic crisis in its history. Industrial output was only half of what it had been 3 years earlier. Farms and factories were shutting down, bank failures increased, the stock market had recovered only slightly from its catastrophic losses, and unemployment stood at a staggering 25%. FDR took action quickly by enacting the first New Deal in the beginning of his presidency. The first phase included an alphabet soup of new laws and agencies. To name a few, there was the Agricultural Adjustment Act, the AAA, which boosted agricultural prices by offering government subsidies to farmers to reduce outputs, the Civilian Conservation Corps, the CCC, which employed young single men at federally funded jobs on government lands, and the National Recovery Act, the NRA, which sought to boost businesses' profits and workers' wages by establishing industry-by-industry codes that set prices and wages, as well as guaranteeing workers' the right to organize the unions. In 1934, Roosevelt supported the passage of the Securities and Exchange Commission, SEC, which brought important federal government oversight and regulation to the stock market. Another flurry of New Deal legislation followed in 1935, including the establishment of the Works Project Administration, WPA, which provided jobs not only for laborers but also artists, writers, musicians, and authors, and the Social Security Act, which provided unemployment compensation and a program of old age and survivors' benefits. By 1939, as World War II began in Europe, President Roosevelt started focusing more on events overseas. When Hitler invaded Poland, he said the U.S. was neutral but wouldn't just stand by and do nothing. He looked for ways to help countries like Britain and France, and pushed to change U.S. laws that made it hard to send aid. He also began strengthening the military, even though many Americans wanted to stay out of the war. Then came the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor by Japan on December 7, 1941. A few days later, Germany and Italy declared war on the U.S., pulling America fully into World War II. As Commander-in-Chief, Roosevelt took charge, working closely with his military advisors and helping pick key commanders and strategies. He also became a global leader, teaming up with Churchill and Stalin to plan how the Allies would win the war and defeat fascism. The D-Day landings on the Normandy beaches in France June 6, 1944 were followed by the Allied invasion of Germany 6 months later. By April 1945, victory in Europe was certain. However, during a vacation at Warm Springs, Georgia on April 12, 1945, FDR suffered a massive stroke and died 2.5 hours later without regaining consciousness. He was only 63 years old. His death came on the eve of complete military victory in Europe and within months of victory over Japan in the Pacific.